Lucy Grant had never been good at keeping her head down. Her mother always said it would get her into trouble someday, and as she walked through the gleaming corridors of Galactic Unity Academy toward the principal's office, she figured that day had finally arrived. The academy floated in the void of space on a massive station called Harmony 7. Students from 40 different species lived and studied here together. The idea was beautiful. Young beings from across the galaxy would learn about each other, form friendships, and carry those bonds back to their home worlds. Peace through understanding. Lucy had believed in that idea when she first arrived 8 months ago. She still believed in it now, even as security drones escorted her like a criminal. The doors to Principal's office slid open with a soft hiss. The room was circular and filled with soft blue light that the species found calming. Principal stood behind his curved desk, his translucent blue skin shimmering as he moved. He had 4 arms, and right now all of them were clasped together in what Lucy had learned was a gesture of deep displeasure. Lucy stepped inside. The doors closed behind her. "Lucy Grant," Principal said. His voice was melodic but cold. "Do you understand why you are here?" "I have a pretty good idea," Lucy replied. "You assaulted another student, a student from one of the most influential families in the Empire, Ambassador's son, no less." His large, dark eyes narrowed. "What do you have to say for yourself?" Lucy took a breath. She had known this moment was coming from the second she had put on the ground. She had known there would be consequences, but she also knew she would make the same choice again without hesitation. "Was about to hurt someone," she said. "I stopped him." "You broke 2 of his fingers and dislocated his shoulder." "He was going to break a lot more than that if I hadn't stepped in." Made a sound that might have been a sigh. "The student you claim to have been protecting says she did not ask for your help." Pip was too scared to ask for help. She was cornered, had his claws raised. "I saw what was about to happen and I acted." Lucy kept her voice steady. "That is not assault, that is protection." "The embassy does not see it that way." Moved around his desk, and Lucy noticed how carefully he walked, how fragile his long limbs looked. They evolved on a low-gravity world with gentle weather and no predators. They were scholars and artists, not fighters. "Ambassador is furious. He is demanding your immediate expulsion. He is threatening to withdraw all funding from this academy." Lucy felt her stomach tighten, but she did not look away. "So you called me here to tell me I'm expelled?" "I called you here to give you a chance to make this right." Stopped a few feet away from her. Even with his height, there was something nervous in the way he held himself. "If you apologize publicly to and his family, the ambassador may be willing to let this matter go. You would face suspension and mandatory counseling, but you could remain at the academy." "Apologize," Lucy repeated. "Yes, a formal apology in front of the student body. You would admit that you overreacted and used excessive force. You would express regret for any harm caused." Lucy stared at him. For a moment she could not find words, then she shook her head slowly. "No." Blinked all 3 of his eyes. "I do not think you understand the situation. This is not a request. This is your only option." "Then I don't have any options." Lucy's hands curled into fists at her sides. "I am not going to apologize for protecting someone who couldn't protect herself, has been bullying students for months. Everyone knows it. Nobody does anything because his father is rich and powerful. Well, I did something, and I'm not sorry." "You are a human," said, and there was something new in his voice now, something that sounded almost like fear. "You come from a world that most species consider uninhabitable. You are stronger than you look, faster, more durable. When you grabbed, you were not stopping a fight. You were ending one before it could begin. Do you understand how that appeared to everyone watching?" It appeared like someone finally stood up to a bully. It appeared like a predator attacking prey. Stepped back slightly. "The other students are frightened of you now. The delegation is calling you dangerous. They are saying humans should never have been admitted to this academy." The words hit Lucy harder than she expected. She had worked so hard to fit in here. She had made herself small and quiet and careful. She had learned which species found eye contact threatening and which ones needed physical distance. She had studied customs and diets and communication styles until her head ached. And now, because she had done what any decent person would do, it was all falling apart. The door opened behind her. Lucy turned to see Teacher Ben Harper step inside. He was the human liaison at the academy, a tall man with hair and kind eyes. He had been like an uncle to Lucy and the other 11 human students. Right now his face was tight with worry. "Principal," he said, "I came as soon as I heard. I would like to speak on behalf of my student." "There is nothing to speak about," replied. "The situation is simple. Lucy apologizes or she faces expulsion." "With respect, the situation is not simple at all." Harper moved to stand beside Lucy. "I have been receiving messages from other students all afternoon. They are telling me things that should concern you greatly. Ambassador's son is not on trial here." "Maybe he should be." His forearms tightened against his body. "You do not understand the politics involved. The Empire funds 30% of this academy's operations. If Ambassador withdraws his support, we will have to close entire wings. Programs will be cut. Students will be sent home." "So you would sacrifice one student's dignity to keep the money flowing?" Harper asked quietly. The principal did not answer. Lucy looked between them. She could see the fear in his eyes, the desperation. He was not a cruel person. He was just afraid. Afraid of losing everything he had built. Afraid of the powerful people who could destroy it all with a word. But Lucy could not let fear make her lie. She could not stand in front of everyone and say she was wrong when she knew she was right. "I won't apologize," she said again. "I can't." Closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, his expression had hardened. "Then you leave me no choice. You have until morning to change your mind. If you do not apologize by then, you will be expelled from Galactic Unity Academy. And I will recommend that all human students be reviewed for removal as well." The words fell like stones into still water. Harper put a hand on Lucy's shoulder. "We will discuss this further," he said too. "This is not over." "Yes," the principal said softly as they turned to leave. "I am afraid it is." Lucy walked out of the office with her head held high. But inside, her heart was breaking. She had come here to prove that humans belonged among the stars. Now it seemed she had only proven that they did not. Lucy sat on the edge of her bed and stared at the wall. The room she shared with was small but comfortable, with 2 beds and 2 desks and a window that looked out at the endless stars. Usually Lucy loved that view. Tonight she could not bring herself to look at it. Paced back and forth across the narrow floor. She was shorter than Lucy, with dark hair cut close to her head and sharp brown eyes that never missed anything. They had become best friends within a week of arriving at the academy. Had a talent for languages that made her popular with students from every species. Lucy had always admired how easily she moved between different groups. "This is insane," said. "You stopped someone from getting hurt. Since when is that a crime?" "Since the person I stopped has a powerful father." "That's not justice, that's just politics." Lucy did not argue. She was too tired to argue. There was a soft chime at the door. Checked the panel and then opened it to reveal Teacher Harper standing in the corridor. Behind him were 3 more human students, all of them looking worried. "May we come in?" Harper asked. Lucy nodded and they filed inside. The room suddenly felt very crowded. Lucy recognized the others. There was Danny Cole, a quiet boy who was brilliant at mathematics. Next to him stood Maya Brooks, who wanted to be and behind them was Sam Turner, the oldest of the human students at 18. "We heard what happened," Sam said. "We came to help." "How can you help?" Lucy asked. The principal already made up his mind. Harper held up a small data pad. "Maybe not. I have been gathering information all afternoon. Students have been coming to me with stories about, not just rumors, real incidents with real victims. He handed the pad to Lucy. She scrolled through the entries. There were dozens of them. A student who had been threatened and robbed, a girl whose feathers had been pulled out as a joke, and boy whose research project had been destroyed. The stories went on, each one worse than the last. "Why didn't anyone report this before?" Lucy asked. "They were afraid," Harper said. "Told them his father would have them expelled if they talked. Most of these species come from worlds where the powerful always win. They did not believe anyone would help them." Maya sat down on his bed. "It's not just fear. Some of them didn't even know they could complain. On their home worlds, this kind of thing is normal. The strong take what they want from the weak." "That's terrible," Lucy said. "That's the galaxy," Sam replied. "Humans are different. We grew up being taught that bullying is wrong. Not every species has that lesson." Lucy looked at the data pad again. So much pain, so much suffering, and she had only scratched the surface by protecting Pip. Had been doing this for a long time and nobody had stopped him. "I showed these testimonies to Principal," Harper said. "He was disturbed, but he said it doesn't change anything. The political situation is too delicate. The Academy cannot afford to lose funding." "So money matters more than students getting hurt?" Danny asked. "Apparently so." "Stopped packing. What if we make it impossible for them to ignore? What if we go public?" "The Academy has strict rules about talking to outside media," Harper said. "Anyone who breaks those rules would be expelled immediately." "Then we don't go to the media." Sam crossed his arms over his chest. "We go to Earth." Everyone looked at him. "Galactic Relations Office," Sam continued. "They handle all diplomatic issues involving humans abroad. If they find out that a human student is being forced to apologize for protecting someone, they're going to have something to say about it." Harper nodded slowly. "I already sent them a message. They are reviewing the situation." "Good," Sam turned to Lucy. "But that's not all we wanted to tell you. We talked about it, all 12 of us humans here at the Academy. We made a decision together." Lucy felt something tighten in her chest. "What decision?" "If you get expelled, we all leave. Every single one of us." The room went silent. Lucy stared at Sam, then at the others. Danny was nodding. Maya had tears in her eyes, but she was nodding too. Even, who had worked so hard to build friendships across every species, was standing firm. "You can't do that," Lucy said. "You've worked so hard to be here. You have futures to think about." "Our futures don't mean anything if we have to buy them with our principles," Sam said. "Humans protect each other. That's what we do. You stood up for someone who needed help. We're going to stand up for you." Harper put a hand on Lucy's shoulder. "I tried to talk them out of it. They wouldn't listen." "Because it's the right thing to do," said. "If this academy punishes people for doing the right thing, then it's not a place we want to be." Lucy did not know what to say. She had felt so alone when she walked out of the principal's office. Now she realized she had never been alone at all. Her people were with her. Her family, not by blood but by something stronger. The door chimed again. Harper checked the panel and his expression changed. "It's a message from the principal's office. Ambassador has arrived on the station. He wants to meet with Lucy personally." The warmth Lucy had been feeling turned to ice. "When?" she asked. "Tonight, 1 hour from now." Sam stepped forward. "We'll go with you." "No," Harper said. "The ambassador requested a private meeting. Only Lucy, myself, and Principal will be allowed in the room." "That's not safe," Maya protested. "Ambassador is a diplomat. He won't harm her physically." Harper did not sound entirely convinced by his own words. "But Lucy, you need to understand something. This man is known for his cruelty. He has crushed careers and ruined lives. He does not forgive and he does not forget. Whatever happens in that meeting, you need to be prepared." Lucy stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stay steady. She thought about Pip, the tiny who had been so scared she couldn't even call for help. She thought about all the other students who had suffered in silence because they believed no one would stand for them. Someone had to stand. Someone had to show that there was another way. "I'll meet with him," Lucy said. "I'm not afraid." It was a lie, and everyone in the room knew it. But sometimes courage was not about feeling brave. Sometimes it was about doing the right thing even when you were terrified. Hugged her tight. "We'll be waiting right outside. Whatever happens, you're not alone." Lucy hugged her back. Then she let go and walked toward the door. 1 hour. That was how long she had to prepare to face one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She had no idea what she was going to say. But she knew one thing for certain. She would not apologize, not now, not ever. The conference chamber was the largest room Lucy had ever seen on the station. It was designed to hold delegations from every member species of the Galactic Assembly. The ceiling rose so high it disappeared into shadow, and the walls were lined with banners representing 100 different worlds. Lucy felt very small as she walked inside. Principal stood near the center of the room, his 4 arms clasped tightly together. He looked even more nervous than Lucy felt. Teacher Harper walked beside her, steady and calm, and she was grateful for his presence. Then she saw Ambassador, and gratitude turned to fear. It was enormous. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, with thick hide that looked like armor plating. Sharp ridges ran along his skull and down his spine. His eyes were small and black and utterly cold. When he moved, it was with the slow confidence of a creature that had never met anything it could not crush. Stood behind his father, 1 arm in a medical sling. He looked smaller somehow, less frightening, but there was hatred in his eyes when he looked at Lucy. "So this is the human," Ambassador said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "This is the creature that attacked my son." "I defended someone your son was about to hurt," Lucy said. She was amazed her voice came out steady. Took a step toward her. The floor seemed to shake under his weight. "You dare speak to me? You should be on your knees begging for mercy." "I don't kneel." "Then you will learn." He took another step, and now he was close enough that Lucy had to tilt her head back to look at his face. She could smell him, a thick musk like old leather and metal. Every instinct she had screamed at her to run, but she stayed where she was. "My son is the heir to the dynasty," the ambassador continued. "Our family has ruled sectors of space since before your species learned to make fire. You are nothing. Your world is nothing. A ball of poison and violence that somehow produced thinking creatures. And you think you have the right to put your hands on my blood." "Your blood was about to spill someone else's blood," Lucy replied. "I stopped him, that's all." Leaned down until his face was inches from hers. "You broke his fingers. You tore his shoulder from its socket. Over what? A worthless, a creature so small and weak it could not survive a single day on your own world." "That's exactly why I had to protect her, because she couldn't protect herself." The ambassador made a sound that might have been a laugh. "This is why humans will never amount to anything. You waste your strength on the weak. You throw yourselves into battles that gain you nothing. It is the instinct of prey animals, huddling together for warmth while predators circle." "You're wrong." Lucy's hands were shaking, but she kept them at her sides. "Protecting the weak isn't a sign of weakness, it's what makes us strong. Humans survived our world by working together. We lifted each other up. We carried the ones who couldn't walk and fed the ones who couldn't hunt. That's not weakness, that's civilization." Straightened to his full height. For a long moment he just stared at her, and Lucy had no idea what he was thinking. His face was impossible to read. "You truly believe this?" he asked. "Every human does. It's how we were raised, it's who we are." Principal stepped forward nervously. "Ambassador, perhaps we could discuss the terms of—" Silence. Did not look at him. His eyes stayed fixed on Lucy. "I want to understand something. You knew my son was larger than you, stronger, from a more powerful family. You knew that fighting him would bring consequences, and still you chose to intervene. Why? Lucy thought about the question. It would have been easy to give a simple answer, but something told her that this moment mattered, that whatever she said next would change everything. Because someone had to, she finally said. I saw a person in danger. I saw someone about to be hurt by someone stronger. On my world, that's not something you walk away from. It doesn't matter who the bully is or how powerful their family is. When you see something wrong happening, you stop it. That's not complicated. That's just being a decent person. Decent, repeated, as if tasting the word. Teacher Harper stepped forward. Ambassador, if I may, I think there is something you should understand about humans and about Earth. His gaze shifted to him. Speak. Earth is classified as a Category 12. I know you are familiar with the term. Our planet has extreme temperature variations, ranging from burning deserts to frozen wastelands. We have thousands of species of predators. We have plants and animals that produce deadly toxins. We have natural disasters that can level entire cities in minutes. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, floods. I am aware of your world's hostility, said. Then you understand that humans evolved under pressure that would have destroyed most species. We should have died out millions of years ago, but we survived. Do you know how? The ambassador said nothing. By protecting each other, Harper continued. By building communities where the strong defended the weak. By creating rules that said violence against the helpless was the greatest crime. We didn't survive by being the biggest or the strongest. We survived by being the most cooperative, the most willing to sacrifice for each other, the most determined to make sure no one got left behind. He gestured toward Lucy. This girl is not an exception. She is exactly what every human is taught to be from the moment we are born. When she saw your son threatening someone who couldn't fight back, she didn't think about politics or consequences. She thought about the same thing every human would think about. Someone needs help. I have to help them. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. Then Ambassador did something unexpected. He turned away from Lucy and walked to the far side of the chamber. He stood there with his back to everyone, his massive shoulders rising and falling with slow breaths. Father's voice was uncertain. Father, what are you doing? Make her apologize, make her kneel. Did not answer his son. When he finally turned around, his expression had changed. The cold anger was still there, but underneath it was something else, something that looked almost like doubt. I want to see them, he said. Principal blinked his 3 eyes. See what, ambassador? The testimonies, the reports about my son's behavior, looked at Harper. You compiled them, I know you did. I want to see every single one. Lucy felt her heart skip. She had not expected this. She had expected threats and demands and fury. She had not expected the ambassador to ask questions. Harper pulled out his data pad. I have them here, but ambassador, are you certain you want? Give them to me. Harper handed over the device, took it in his massive hand and began to read. The room was completely silent. Lucy watched the ambassador's face as he scrolled through page after page of testimony. She could not tell what he was feeling. His expression remained blank. When he finished, he lowered the data pad. He looked at his son, who was shifting nervously by the wall. Then he looked at Lucy. It seems, he said slowly, that I have much to think about. He walked toward the door without another word. Father called after him. Father, where are you going? What about my honor? Stopped at the threshold. He did not turn around. Honor, he said quietly. I am no longer certain you know what that word means. Then he was gone, and Lucy was left standing in the massive chamber with more questions than answers. Something had shifted, she could feel it. But whether it had shifted in her favor or against her, she could not tell. Nobody slept that night. Lucy stayed in her quarters staring at the ceiling and wondering what was happening in the ambassador's private chambers. Teacher Harper checked in every hour with updates, but there was nothing to report. Ambassador had locked himself away and refused to see anyone. Morning came slowly, light filtering through the viewport as the station rotated to face the distant star. Lucy had just started to drift off when her door chimed. She stumbled out of bed to find Harper standing in the corridor with a strange expression on his face. "There's going to be an assembly," he said. "Everyone has to attend. The ambassador requested it." "What's happening?" Lucy asked. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's happening now." Lucy dressed quickly and followed Harper through the corridors. Students from every species were moving in the same direction, all of them whispering and glancing at her as she passed. Some looked scared. Others looked curious. A few of the smaller ones actually smiled at her, tiny gestures of support that made her heart ache. The main assembly hall was already packed when they arrived. Lucy found the other human students near the back and joined them, squeezed her hand tightly. Sam stood with his arms crossed, his jaw set with determination. They were all here, all 12 of them standing together. Principal took the stage first. He looked exhausted, his blue skin pale and his 4 arms hanging limply at his sides. He raised one hand for silence, and the murmuring crowd slowly quieted. "Students of Galactic Unity Academy," he began, his voice flat and hollow. "We are gathered here today to address the incident that occurred 2 days ago. As you know, a human student named Lucy Grant used physical force against, son of Ambassador of the Empire." Lucy felt hundreds of eyes turn toward her. She kept her gaze fixed on the stage. "I had planned to announce the consequences for this action," continued. "But Ambassador has asked to speak first. I have agreed to his request." He stepped aside, and the massive form of Ambassador emerged from the shadows at the side of the stage. The crowd fell absolutely silent. Even the youngest students seemed to understand that something important was about to happen. Walked to the center of the stage. He moved slowly, deliberately, and when he reached the speaking position, he stood there for a long moment without saying anything. His small black eyes swept across the assembled students. "I came to this station to demand justice for my son," he finally said. His deep voice carried easily through the hall. "I came to make an example of the human girl who dared to lay hands on blood. I was prepared to destroy her future, her species' place at this academy, anything and anyone who stood in my way." Lucy's hands clenched at her sides. "Then I read the testimonies." Reached into the folds of his robe and pulled out Harper's data pad. He held it up for everyone to see. 37 incidents, 37 students harmed by my son over the past year, theft, destruction of property, physical violence, threats, intimidation. He lowered the pad. 37 times and nobody did anything. Nobody reported it. Nobody fought back. Nobody said a word. His gaze found Lucy in the crowd. Until her. The silence was so complete that Lucy could hear her own heartbeat. "I spent all night thinking about what the human teacher told me," continued. "About their world, about how they survive. I thought he was making excuses. I thought he was trying to explain away his species' weakness. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something." He paused. "We have it backwards, all of us. All the species who believe that strength means taking what you want from those who cannot stop you. We have it backwards." Appeared at the edge of the stage, his face twisted with confusion. "Father, what are you saying?" Turned to look at his son. "I am saying that you are not strong. You have never been strong. Attacking those who cannot defend themselves is not strength. It is cowardice. It is the behavior of a creature too afraid to face a real challenge. I am the heir to. You are a bully and a coward." His voice was like thunder. "And I have failed you. I taught you that power was all that mattered. I taught you that the weak existed to serve the strong. I was wrong." He turned back to the assembly. "In culture, there is an ancient concept. We call it. It means one who shields the helpless. warriors who fought not for glory or conquest but to protect those who could not protect themselves. For centuries we dismissed this as a myth, a fairy tale from a softer time. We thought we had evolved beyond such weakness. His eyes found Lucy again. This human girl has shown me that is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. She knew my son was bigger than her. She knew his family was powerful. She knew there would be consequences. And she did not hesitate, not for 1 second, because someone needed help and she was there to give it. Descended from the stage. The students parted before him like water, clearing a path as he walked toward the back of the hall, toward Lucy. She held her ground as he approached. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst, but she did not move. The ambassador stopped in front of her. Up close he was even more terrifying, a mountain of muscle and armor and power. But when he looked at her, there was no anger in his eyes anymore. There was something else, something she never expected to see. Respect. Slowly, Ambassador of the Empire lowered his massive head. It was not quite a bow. It was something deeper, something more personal, a gesture of acknowledgement from one warrior to another. I was prepared to destroy you, he said quietly, so only she could hear. Instead, you have taught me something I should have learned long ago. I am in your debt, Lucy Grant of Earth. He straightened and turned to address the crowd once more. My son will face consequences according to tradition. He will serve those he has harmed until he understands what it truly means to be strong. And I will be doubling my family's contribution to this academy, on one condition. Principal stepped forward nervously. What condition, Ambassador? That you admit more humans. Looked around the room at the hundreds of alien faces staring back at him. They have something we lack, something this galaxy desperately needs, and I believe it can be taught. He walked back toward the stage, then stopped and turned one last time. Galactic Unity Academy was built to create understanding between species. Perhaps it is time we learned something from the species we thought we had nothing to learn from. With those words, he disappeared through the side exit. The hall erupted into chaos. Students were shouting, crying, hugging each other. The other human students rushed toward Lucy, surrounding her in a protective circle that became a massive group embrace. But Lucy barely noticed any of it. She was watching Principal, who stood alone on the stage with a strange expression on his face. Their eyes met across the crowded room. And she knew that this was not over yet. The crowd had barely begun to thin when Principal made his way down from the stage. Students parted around him, still buzzing with excitement and confusion, but his attention was fixed on one person. Lucy watched him approach, unsure what to expect. Miss Grant, he said, his melodic voice strained, I need to speak with you privately. Teacher Harper stepped forward. Should I come along? No, this is between me and the student. His 3 eyes were unreadable. Please, it will only take a moment. Lucy looked at who nodded slightly. Go, her friend whispered. We'll be right here. She followed the principal through a side corridor and into his private office. The soft blue light seemed dimmer than before, the space somehow smaller. Moved to the center of the room and then stopped with his back to her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then slowly, Principal lowered himself to his knees. His 4 arms pressed flat against the floor. His head bent until his forehead nearly touched the ground. Lucy stared at him in shock. What are you doing? I am begging your forgiveness. Get up, please, get up. Not until you hear me. His voice trembled. Not until you understand. Lucy did not move. She had never seen an adult prostrate themselves before a student. She had never seen anyone look so broken. I knew, for months I knew what he was doing to the other students. I received complaints. I heard rumors. I saw the fear in their eyes when they passed him in the corridors. His arms shook against the floor, and I did nothing. You were afraid, Lucy said quietly. I was a coward. He lifted his head slightly and she saw tears streaming from all three of his eyes. I told myself it was politics. I told myself I was protecting the academy, but the truth is that I was protecting myself. I was afraid of Ambassador. I was afraid of losing funding. I was afraid of confrontation. He lowered his head again. When you stopped, I should have celebrated you. I should have thanked you for doing what I was too weak to do. Instead, I threatened to expel you. I demanded that you apologize for being brave. Lucy's throat was tight. She had been so angry at. She had seen him as the enemy, another obstacle in her path. But looking at him now, she saw something different. She saw someone who had made terrible mistakes and knew it. Someone who was drowning in shame. Get up, she said again. I do not deserve to stand before you. Maybe not, but I'm asking you to do it anyway. Slowly, painfully, rose to his feet. His translucent blue skin was blotchy from crying. His forearms hung limp at his sides. He could not meet her eyes. What you did was wrong, Lucy said. You let students get hurt because you were scared of a powerful family. That's not something I can just forgive and forget. Nodded miserably. But admitting you were wrong takes courage too. Standing here and telling me the truth instead of making excuses, that means something. Lucy stepped closer to him. I don't want you to kneel to me. I want you to stand with me. I want you to help me make this place what it's supposed to be. The principal finally looked at her. You would work with me after everything I did. People make mistakes. What matters is what they do next. Lucy thought about her mother, about the lessons she had learned growing up. On Earth we have a saying, fall down 7 times, get up 8. It means failure isn't the end. It's just another chance to do better. Was silent for a long moment. Then something shifted in his expression. The shame was still there, but underneath it was something new, something that looked like hope. What would you have me do? He asked. Help me build something, a new system, something that makes sure no one ever has to suffer like those students suffered. Lucy's mind was racing now, ideas forming faster than she could speak them. A council, representatives from every species, a way for students to report mistreatment without fear, trained advocates who will actually listen and act. That would be difficult to implement. Then we work hard, we make it happen anyway. For the first time since she had met him, Principal smiled. It was a small smile, fragile and uncertain, but it was real. You are remarkable, he said. Your species is remarkable. I think I am only beginning to understand what that means. They spent the next hour planning. By the time Lucy left the office, they had outlined the basic structure of a new student protection program, promised to present it to the Academy board within the week. When Lucy returned to the main corridor, she found a crowd waiting for her. Not just the human students, though they were there at the front. Behind them were dozens of others, and species she did not even recognize. They were all watching her with expressions that ranged from curiosity to gratitude to something that looked almost like awe. Pip stepped forward from the crowd, the tiny who had started everything. She barely came up to Lucy's waist, with soft golden fur and enormous dark eyes. Is it true? Pip asked in her small voice. The ambassador really bowed to you. Not exactly bowed, more like nodded very deeply. Because you protected me. Lucy knelt down so she was at eye level with the little alien. Because someone needed to protect you and I was there. That's all. Pip's eyes filled with tears. On my world, no one protects the small ones. We learn to hide. We learn to stay quiet. We learn to make ourselves invisible so the big ones will not notice us. She reached out with a tiny paw and touched Lucy's hand. You noticed me. You saw me when I was trying not to be seen. Why? It was such a simple question, such a profound question. Because you matter, Lucy said. Every person matters. No matter how small you are or where you come from. That's what I believe. That's what all humans believe. Pip threw her arms around Lucy's neck and held on tight. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. The student council was established with representatives from 30 different species. The protection protocol went into effect, and suddenly students who had been suffering in silence found they had somewhere to turn. Pip became one of the junior advocates, using her own experience to help others. Word spread beyond Harmony 7. Other academies reached out, asking about the human approach to student welfare. Diplomatic missions requested human advisors. The reputation of Earth shifted from dangerous to something else entirely. Lucy stood at a viewport one evening, watching the ships come and go. Found her there and stood beside her in comfortable silence. "You know you accidentally started a movement, right?" finally said. Lucy smiled. "I just did what any human would do." "That's exactly the point." Behind them, a group of young aliens approached nervously. There was a with iridescent feathers and with 6 legs, and several others Lucy did not recognize yet. They clustered together, clearly working up the courage to speak. "Excuse me," the finally said. "We heard that you know how to defend yourself. We were wondering if maybe you could teach us." Lucy turned to face them. "You want to learn to fight?" "Not to hurt anyone," they said quickly. "Just to protect the ones who cannot protect themselves, like you do." Lucy looked at their faces. So young, so eager, so ready to become something better than what their worlds had taught them to be. "I can teach you," she said, "but it's not really about fighting, it's about something else." "What?" "Standing up, even when you're scared. Even when the person you're standing against is bigger and stronger and more powerful than you. Standing up anyway because it's the right thing to do." The aliens exchanged glances, then they nodded. And so the Galactic Unity Academy Defense and Protection Club held its first meeting that evening, in a small training room on the station's lower level. 12 humans and 27 aliens from a dozen different worlds, learning not how to throw punches, but how to throw themselves between danger and the innocent. Lucy watched them practice and felt something warm in her chest. This was why humanity had reached for the stars, not to conquer, not to take, but to share the one thing they had that no one else did. The stubborn, beautiful, unshakable belief that no one should ever have to face darkness alone. And that belief, Lucy knew, would change the galaxy.